What's going on, Port fans? Welcome back to another video on my channel, and today we're going to be discussing the top 5 Port Adelaide players of this decade from 2010 to 2019. As you may have seen, I did a top 10 for the AFL players this past decade, but I thought we'll narrow it down to a top 5 of this decade for the Port Adelaide Football Club and see exactly who has been a bit of a standout compared to the rest of the players that we've had over this current decade. So without further ado, let's get into the top 5 Port Adelaide players from 2010 to 2019. There's been over 100 players that have been drafted or have been traded or have been played in a Port Adelaide game since 2010, which is a fair amount of players. 100 players that have or have not represented. Currently, there is still 3 that have continued on from the 2000s in Travis Boak, Robbie Gray and Justin Westhoff. And no doubt you may or may not suspect that they'll feature in this top 5. But let's get straight into it with number 5. And it's everyone's favourite full forward, Jay Schultz.
Move it on. It's a great effort by Port so far.
Pittard, high ball, Schultz lining up at the back. Schultz with a big one over the top.
Jay Schultz was traded to Port Adelaide from Richmond in 2010 as a forward. He played a majority of 2010, kicking 33 goals. In fact, I'm pretty sure he led the club's goal-kicking tally in 2010 as well with that infamous 7-goal haul against North Melbourne. But since then, he finished up in 2016, unfortunately. His body didn't quite hold up in the end. He played 122 games for the Port Adelaide Football Club. He kicked 272 goals in the 6-year span. And he was a 4-time leading goal kicker for the club during that time. And obviously, he was a key forward in one of the darkest periods through 2011 and 2012. But his form in 2013 and 14, he was at one stage a common medal contender when we were going through our great run. So for him, it was just kicking goals, and he was a dead-eye dick too. I've never seen someone kick more perfect through for a set shot. A few of the modern-day players could learn a thing or two from Jay, so he's at number 5. Number 4 is a warrior. He's only missed about 2 or 3 games in his time for Port Adelaide until this year, until he got injured a fair bit more. But to miss about 10 games of football in a career span of 8 years with the Port Adelaide Football Club is sensational. It's none other than Brad Ebert.
Off a step, Ebert hard running. He's already kicked a goal in this quarter. Takes them on. Oh yes, he's done it again.
170 games for Port Adelaide during this decade. He's kicked 96 goals, and we know he's no doubt a warrior on the field. Wouldn't be a game without him having a bandage on his head either. He bleeds for the club, and he's just been a wonderful servant. He's a tackling machine. He hits the scoreboard. And during that golden era of 2013 and 2014, he was a true leader in leading us to become a better team, especially with the loss of John McCarthy as well. So a credit to Brad, and he's certainly been one of the more consistent players we've had at our footy club for quite some time. Number 3 is everybody's favourite Humphrey.
Taylor was the target. Boak's got the football. Back come Port again. Broadbent, searing hand pass on the bounce to the pocket. Westhoff! Remarkable goal, his 3rd.
I'm talking about Justin Westhoff, the beard. He features at number 3. He's a BNF winner. He's played over 270 games for the football club since starting in 2007. But he's certainly proven to be one of the more consistent players in recent years. He is a star-mate in the team. He's a best 22 player. He's a goal kicker. He's a leader. He's a game saver. And he is probably the barometer in our side. So when he's playing well, our whole team is playing well. And throughout the course of the years, he's certainly been struggling. Early on especially, trying to keep his side. Until 2013, when Ken Hinkley came along and he grew a beard, really. And that's what kind of form he's shown ever since that. He's been a very good player, and he's a crafty man, the old Hoff. So he's definitely worthy of a feature in the top 5. And at number 3, I think that's very respectable. So we get to the top 2. Now, for some people, this is very debatable. For others, it's very clear-cut. And unfortunately, a lot of players would have missed out in this top 5, and I should have done a top 10, but nonetheless, it's been a very it's been a difficult decade for the Port Adelaide Football Club. We've only recently started to fight our way back with debt off the field. Sponsorships haven't always been easy to find. We have had a lot of on-field issues in the early part with Matthew Primus as coach and dealing with a whole bunch of massive losses. Again, Hinkley comes along. Now we're a bit inconsistent. We don't know where we're heading. But these next two players were consistent in being part of the Port Adelaide Football Club and making sure they were taking this next step forward. It's a pretty easy top 5 list to compile, especially when you've got players like Travis Spoke, who comes in at number 2.
Okay. And he's got it too. Sweet as you like. That'll be a goal. As sweet as you like.
Now, everyone knows that my favourite player for the Port Adelaide Football Club is Travis Spoke. And there are probably people watching this right now thinking, how is he not number 1? Anthony, are you okay? What's wrong with you? Purely on merit, purely on the statistics, and purely on the fact that the next bloke at number 1 has been the best player for Port Adelaide in the modern era. But Travis Spoke is a very close second. Now, I'll give you some stats. Obviously, he was captain from 2013 to the end of 2018. He was a prolific player. He's a goal kicker. He's a 2-time All-Australian in that time. He's a 2-time BNF winner this decade. He's played over 250 games for the football club since debuting in 2007. A prolific part in leading the Port Adelaide Football Club from 2013 and 2014 during a final series that we didn't expect to do anything, and we came out with a big smile on our face. He's a people person, and it's hard to argue why he shouldn't be in this list full stop, let alone at number 2. He should be at number 1. I don't know what I'm doing, but Travis Spoke has been a sensational player, and we all know the stuff he does off the field. But he compiles that and actually performs equally, if not better, on it. So, Travis Spoke, number 2. Number 1. I think we all know who this is. The suspense, I may as well not build it up. It's the one and only. It's the number 9 for the Port Adelaide Football Club. It's Robbie Gray.
Here we go for 5 and a quarter. Let him entertain you.
5 times the Showdown medalist. He's a 4-time All-Australian. He's a 3-time BNF winner. He's a 2-time Port Adelaide leading goal kicker. That's just in this decade alone. This is what Robbie Gray's done. He's a match winner. Countless efforts, multiple great goals. He's been a prolific midfielder. He averages 30 plus at one stage during the 2014 season. His knee, don't forget, he did a knee in 2012 against the Collingwood Football Club at the Etihad Stadium at the time. We all thought basically this bloke's done. It was a horrifying injury. And he's all of a sudden compiled a career in a 7-year span that nobody else could. In the 2000s there was a few, definitely. But in the modern era, Robbie Gray, there's no one else like him. And yeah, you can say, being a Port fan, being a bit biased. But in saying that, you watch Robbie Gray play, it doesn't matter who you support, you're going to watch him and think, damn, he's good. Damn, he just performs like a classic, strong midfield forward type player. That's great to watch. So Robbie Gray definitely has to be number 1 for the Port Adelaide Football Club as the best player in this decade. Well, Port fans, that is my top 5 for the 2010 and 2019 decade. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the list and what are your top 5 best players for the Port Adelaide Football Club in this decade. It was a hard choice to compile, actually. There's quite a few players that should have got honourable mentions. Players like Hamish Hartlett, players like Kane Corns, who contributed in the first half of this decade. But you know, there's so many players that have represented this football club, it's hard to compile a list like this, but I'm definitely going to bring you plenty more as we head into that 150 years, so make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are new for plenty more Port Adelaide and AFL content coming your way this off-season. My name is Anthony, Port fans, and as always, can the pair.